All right, we are Huang, and
Heiko, and we are the Essence of Truth podcast.
which is all about the freedom and happiness that everybody wants, but do not know how to get.
That's exactly right. And so, what usually tends to take away our happiness? Negative and toxic people that we have to deal with and we can't escape. Whether that's in our family, maybe at our workplace, or even in a friends group or anywhere really. And so today we really want to dive deep into those this topic, but also look at it from different kind of perspectives and different stages of the journey of life we're going through, because I think there are patterns in all of them, and when we understand the overlapping arch of that, we can learn to deal with that in any kind of situation. It certainly has helped me with family relationships, with work relationships, and with friends as well. So like really spread it out. And it helped me not just to deepen some of the relationships, but also what I find very important, it helped me to understand myself, to come to my truth, and being able to stay in there, even if this kind of person is around. And so lots to talk about today. So Huang, I think you have a beautiful story you wanted to share.
Well, actually, I have a couple. I gotta choose one, right? And whatever the next story or next thing comes up, then we can share the next one. So, for example, which one should I do? The one that's well, I'm just gonna roll with it. So, in Netherlands, I remember when I came here, and for a long time, I didn't realize that. But when though it's kind of cold here, right? And in Vietnam, I come from Vietnam, and it's very, very hot. Can you imagine when you walk outside in the middle of the in the middle of the day, which is around 12, 1, right? And a little bit later, when you walk on your bare feet, yes, I used to walk bare feet in Vietnam. I love that, in the grass and on the street. If you don't, if you don't pay attention, you're gonna burn your feet. Literally, it's so hot that you're gonna burn your feet. And well, brother Heiko here, I think he could he could imagine because he's there, right?
I
Um,
had this experience once.
yeah, and yeah, that is how hot it is. So in Vietnam, it's much hotter than in Netherlands. Just to make it clear, much hotter. And yeah, I didn't get bothered back then. I was like, oh yeah, the sun is so hot. Well, I'm just gonna avoid that. I won't be burning my own feet because I don't want to. Right? And and so just to say how hot it is. And so in Netherlands, right, when it's hot and when people are sweating, for me, like, oh yeah, of course, sweating, like, oh yeah, it's a part of it, right? Hey, I get cooling down because my body works that way. Yoo-hoo! Very happy that my body still work, celebrating that. And I see some people actually when it's hot, then they complain, oh, it's too hot, right? And of course, sometimes when you burn your skin, it's not nice, and they need to put on the sunscreen. And some others does not need to. When it's too hot, then it's not good, right? When it's too cold, oh yeah, no, it's not good either, right? And when it's raining, it's not good, and just many of those things that are not good. And then when we do that, then we forgotten to realize that, oh, what, instead of being in the part about how bad it is and stay there, right? How about we move to just like how we done in Vietnam, like, oh yeah, it's hot, it's burning my feet. Why don't I go and do something else about it, right? Which is go into the grass, because I love I love it when it's so hot, and then I can barely move further on the street, so I jump onto the shadow, right? I need to like cooling down my feet and like, oh, the shadow, and then run to the next one, and then the shadow again, and the grass. So the same thing for uh, for the sun, right, here in Netherlands, or for the rain. I remember there was a time when I was cycling to the gym, and I think I shared this story quite a couple of times. And it's raining so hard outside, with raining, and it's like snowing. But then like the ice is ice become cube that's falling on you. It hurts. So what I take a different jacket, which is more protected, cover myself like a mummy, right, all over the face like a mummy, and cycling to the gym, which took about an hour to go there. So yeah, and then returning. I myself don't experience in terms of hardship beside for my physical body, right? And when I go there, at the gym, I enter the gym and I was soaking wet, and I changed my clothing and go start training. And then after that, I do the same thing returning home, and um, and so that is to say, when you change your mind, when you're focusing on the solution itself, the pain and the things actually kind of disappear. And when they disappear like that, how much pain and suffering are we actually experiencing? Uh, well, I will hallucinate, not at all, because the one that is focusing on and staying on the negative part, right? The problem, the victim, that will be the thing that really, hurt us. And I think I think going back to the other people, which someone that have no arm and no legs. I think Nick Vujicic, and the other one will be Sean Stevenson. Both these people, they were born like one is without arm and legs, the other one is with like very broken bone all over. There was a disease name that I don't remember how it's called, and they are very very happy. And it was one of my very motivational point, because after some time in in Netherlands, and also with the life that I believe I had. Remember, it's all in the mind, right? That I believe I had. It become too much for me, and I start to blame everyone else, and I start to blame a lot of things, and blaming myself. I believe is starting off with blaming myself, and it really broke me. After that, when I started into my journey, and I saw this, I saw these two figure, which is literally my role model, I would say. um, and how happy they were. Man, this guy like Sean Stevenson, he need the wheelchair to move around, and he's so amazing with women. I mean, like, so amazing, which is so strange, right? um and he could literally he make everybody laugh, and he's so funny, so funny. And at the same time, he was an invalid, right? He has the right to do that, and yet he chose a different path. He chose the path of empowerment, he chose the path of growth, and he chose the path of not being a victim, not staying there, but the solution itself. Oh, this guy have six pack. I talk so. I have six pack. I talked so much today in the beginning, but he have a six pack. Can you imagine that? That guy have a six pack. Sean Stevenson. If you have the time, start go and take a look at his stuff. But wow. So yeah, it's a choice, and there are many people that has done that. And yeah, I would say I believe you have some like amazing story yourself, brother. So
Um, yeah, first of all, I just want to thank you for sharing that, because I mean, there's so many gold nuggets. First off, I definitely have to look up Sean, because I never really delved into that. So you made me really excited to look him up. But also, I want to highlight the fact and really thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. You also had this time where you started to blame. You also blamed yourself, which is what I think such a deep insight that we often need to see. Because what I've noticed in all those years being in different countries, different kind of great people, but also toxic or negative people, is that yes, there's this victimhood that you mentioned, and even though, or especially those who blame a lot others, they tend to have huge amounts of blame for themselves. But they cover that up so well that, as normal kind of person, you won't even realize that. And so I find this is a very good insight to dig deeper. And so just to give a perspective, like one colleague that I had once that I worked with, generally good guy, but had this habit that I knew where it came, childhood parents and stuff. But he had this habit of always complaining about others in a certain kind of way. And so Back then, I had no idea about coaching or anything like that. I had no idea how to deal with them. But I spent several years with this person every day. And so I kind of started, experimenting with things. Like sometimes it was just like, I don't even want to hear about it. Just leave me alone, something like that. But what I found after a while is what worked really well is actually digging deeper. So first off, just simply acknowledging, like making sure he understands I'm listening, which then I noticed, especially when you know someone for a while, there was a shift in body language, like just simply opener, more relaxed, tone of voice changed a bit. And then I simply started asking questions about what was shared, and like specific questions that basically made him, or kind of almost forced him to explain what was shared. And usually it ended up in a dead end where it was just BS. And so there were two ways happening. Either he hit a dead end and it's like, and just shut up by himself and just wouldn't talk, which gave me the freedom to focus on my work and have a good time. Or the other way was he actually was open enough to explore, to maybe share a bit more, digging deeper into things, and actually solving some issues that have been lingering around for years. And so this is why I really want to thank you for sharing this part about blaming yourself, because there was a part of that too. You would have never guessed that before. But when you get to a place where the person feels comfortable to open up and you're digging deeper, then there's a lot. I mean, it deepened the relationship. Not always, not every day, but it always depended on how he reacted at the end, or how he felt in that moment. And like I said, back then I didn't have all the tools that I'm having now, but it definitely brought huge insights to myself and to others. And so fast forward a couple of years later, every time I had to deal with a person like that, like first off, what I've recognized in the past was that, especially at the beginning, I would just kind of tolerate it, whether I not say anything or even just go with the flow kind of thing. But it usually just made it worse, and it just ended up, I mean, at the end I was just reinforcing that behavior. And so I realized I need to change that for my own sake and for their sake, to be frank. And so I literally tried different techniques. And one of the things that I highly recommend, and really coming really to the core and the essence of truth, for me at least, for this, is to stay true to yourself. No matter what's happening, no matter the situation, no matter what kind of person it is, even if it's a family member, stay true to yourself and call out what doesn't fit. And I don't mean like in any kind of mean way. There are so many ways to articulate and communicate that, right? You can just say, well, like, you know what, actually, when you say this stuff, like I feel in my body, like my stomach is tense, my heart rate increases, I'm feeling heat coming up. And I actually notice, a part of me is getting angry here because whatever, right? Maybe something reflected to what I've experienced in the past, whatever is in relation to that. And so what I would like, though, is I love our relationship. I would love to have fun with you, but this definitely destroys the fun. And so you don't need to change. I don't want to change you or anything like that. But if we're around, like, this to me is a no-go. And so if you feel like you need to have this, you must express these things, cool for you, I'm out. Or we can just have a good time and you just, leave it while I'm here. Like, it's your choice. Either way, I'm good. But I just want to make sure you understand that. And like I said, there's so many kind of ways. But at the end, it really comes down to staying true to yourself. And it depends on, obviously, situation, people, context. There's no one size fits all for this. But speak and addressing the elephant in the room is crucial. And you can be playful, you can be funny with that. You can use stories. There's so many ways to address this. But staying true to yourself is the only way, the most important way to deal with that. Because otherwise, when you try to kind of fit in, when you try to play with that, to go with the flow, you're just reinforcing that behavior. It's just going to come back in all kinds of ways. And it's getting harder for you to get out of that. And what I find at the beginning when I did that, I was kind of losing a part of myself. And I actually started blaming myself, then blaming back to him, and just started the whole loop that you mentioned before. I just basically started the whole loop for myself. And so thank you so much for sharing this. And I hope for you guys out there that this is helpful for you. And so, like, if you have any insight stories, moments you have to share, any questions, then please share them, because we want to co-create this with you. And I think this is such an important topic. And like I said, there's so many angles to this. So if you share something, great. And I mean, you don't have to put names or anything like that. But yeah, if you would like our insights about your situation, something, please share. You can also send us a private message. It's completely cool. But with that being said, though, I'm curious, what are your insights about this one?
Man, I really love what you just saying, what you just share, right? Calling out, asking question, and staying true with or to yourself. Those are the kind of the note I take, and I really love it because most of us really, at least I know from my own experience, is that for a long time when I have a behaviors, and it's kind of become automatic, as we growing up, as environment, right, our parents, whatever it is, school, whatever, then we're gonna have that automatic, that habits, right, that unconscious behaviors that we not even aware of. And talking about this, there's also something else fun beside this, but we're not even aware of, right? And we do that, and until we met someone that is in the journey as we are in right now, right? And self-development, growth, become a better version of themselves so they can contribute even greater in life, at least in the amount of time that they are in this earth, on this earth, right? So by calling out, when they call out, like, hey, what's going on here? Like, did this actually, like, did this not something that, no, actually, did it something that we notice or I notice? So is this true? Calling out and asking question. I really love that you share that. And I remember for me in the beginning, it was so hard. The very first when I was in the institution, and it was years ago, right, when my mind and body broke down. I had to learn something. I had to find tools to work out. And when being called out, um, and I recognize what you share about the sensation of warm, like, coming up inside of you. Well, for me, it's the same. I felt so unsafe at those moments because I was being called out. Either it's true or not, it's activated something inside of me, right? That person, by just that action of them alone. And by facing plenty of that, I remember after every session or every time, I felt my physical body, my mental so draining. Like I feel just want to sleep. And that's how intense it was. And every time, and just like lifting weight, right? It does get better. It really take years, like first was days, weeks, months, and then years. It does get better. So know that it could happen in that way for us or for the people that we call out, as we are in different path right now, and call out and asking question. And here's the thing, the kind that we are, right, to ourselves, the kind that we are could be for another. The more loving we are to ourselves, the more loving we could be to others with the calling out, with asking questions, and still when still staying true to and with ourselves. And sometimes, it really, we cannot beating around the bush. Sometimes some people like me, I know that personally, you have to like slapping on the face, right? Myself, so that I really have it clear, or else I'm just gonna leave it too much hanging around and it's becoming clear. So the balance between very loving and at the same time is also direct enough to point that out. And um, yeah. Oh, there was a different story that I now forgot. The cool part about it. Um,
One thing, maybe think about it. One thing that I just want to highlight, because I love that you brought up habits, because
mhm.
when you think about it, for a negative kind of person or toxic person, it is habitual for them to do that. for whatever kind of reason, however started that thing. And so anything that basically interrupts them also can work wonders. And so one of the things also, when you are around the same person over and over again, notice patterns. Like, just basically disassociate yourself emotionally from that, as if you're watching something on Netflix and you're just observing, because you're going to notice patterns and you will be able to interrupt before it's actually happening. And it can be in all kinds of ways, because usually, especially toxic people, they behave in a certain kind of way where they expect you or somebody else to react in a certain kind of way, because everyone tends to react the way when they do certain kind of things. And so if you simply change the reaction, especially if you react, instead of getting frustrated or angry, if you started laughing or something like that, their brain goes like, huh? What's happening now? And then you already interrupted the whole thing. And you can, from that point on, you can change the direction of the conversation any way you want. So that's so powerful. And this is what I mean before, where like there's so many ways to deal with that. But it all comes down to, understanding patterns. And I think also being present. And so not just like, okay, I need to think about these things and what do I want to say? And, we're often making up these. And I notice this from myself when somebody's speaking and I'm already like in my head, already trying to like, okay, what do I want to say next, instead of actually listening. And so I find when I'm really just fully present, trusting that whatever I need to say will come out of it, this is when actually the magic is happening. This is when I catch those habits, even sometimes my own, before I'm reacting to something. I'm like, wait a minute. How do I want to react here? How do I want to respond? And I get to choose that, right? Taking ownership and responsibility for how I want to respond to this negativity. And sometimes it can also simply mean like, what? I don't want to deal with that right now. I'm out. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, this is the thing when you stay true to yourself, when you're present, you listen to your needs, you're recognizing and honoring your values, and you communicate what's necessary, then you're good. And it works in all kinds of environments, even if it's a workplace. And so I just wanted to add to that because you shared it. And did you get back to your story?
Oh no, I haven't. I was listening to yours. I do love it. I do love and it's so true what you share, because and it's the same for me, because the only story I could base on is on me and the interaction that I have with others, right? So when I was acting a certain way back in the day, I do have a certain expectation, like a habitual, like either like, oh, feel sorry for me. I can't believe I was like that, right? Like, please cheer me up or whatever it is, and I become a victim, and I depending on another person's, let's just say, good grace, right? And I did not do it for myself. So when we have a certain expectation and expectation is not met, right, I got angry, right? And of course that's not the way to go. And when someone else changing the pattern, and this is actually a different story that I have, back in the day when I believe something, I believe that things are negative, right? Like, oh, I do not know how to do this and that or that. I had a dating coach, and his name was Martin, right? Um, and this guy, it was amazing, like, you can check him out when you have the time, and when I asking this question, and he just say like, I don't remember exactly what he say, but something very cool, something very positive. I was kind of shocked. And as you were saying, they changed the interrupt pattern, right? Like, or you can laugh about it. And this was one of the way that I was being interrupted. I was being negative, right? And and asking things that in different direction. And he make it positive. I was like, hang on, is it also possible? And luckily for me, I was opening enough and not get mad, right? Not like, oh no, my way is have to be the way. I was opening up like, oh yeah, actually, you could be right. Oh, is it possible? And then with that, I tried it out a couple of times and it really worked, right? Positivity in those moments wins. And so pattern interrupt, guys, it's extremely, extremely important. I think it's something in NLP, right? Neuro linguistic programming. Pattern interrupt is where it come from. And yeah, throughout the years, I started to get better with becoming more positive, becoming more into that direction. And he was also one of the people that really, um, I remember in the beginning, I wouldn't even dare to look at people in the eyes. I literally look in the eyes without the fear, without the tension, without the anxiety building up inside of me. And with him, when he told me, like when you look at, I asked him, right? So I look at people's eyes and then they look back and what then? And he tell me something so simple, which is, just not back, like, yeah, hello, not bad. And that's okay. And it really is okay. I tried it out and I could do that. So I remember it's um, yeah, I don't remember why I shared that. I think it has to do with party interrupt and being positive and learning the skill that you're not used to and growing yourself. And one by one, you can build it up stone and brick by brick, and you can change. And wow, I mean, like it really is out there. And yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because this is a perfect example of how an interrupt can happen, and how he then changed your entire perspective. And I mean, you were open to it, as you said it, which comes back to what I shared with my colleague, where like sometimes he was open, sometimes he wasn't. But either way, for me, the situation got better, because either he was open and we could solve it and had a great time together, or he would at least shut up. Right? And so both ways for me worked. And I think also, just as I'm articulating this, I think also those days when he actually shut up, it was because he then internalized things. And I think it interrupted his own pattern, and he got to internalize, like, wait a minute, what was actually happening there? Because then actually, when I'm thinking about it, after that was when he opened up. So it's probably, because we often don't even recognize our own patterns. And also, for those of you, like, you don't really know about patterns or pattern interrupts, like, to make it as easy as possible, basically, when you have a negative person that tends to say certain things or do certain things all the time, a simple way to look at it is do something different than you or anybody else would usually do. So if people usually would get upset, laugh about it. If you usually tend to get silent, do something completely, outgoing or something like that, like jumping out, woo, whatever kind of thing. Anything really works, because their mind is going to be like, huh? And this is then, as you said, you can then, with questions or with anything, guide the conversation any kind of way. And so there's so much of this. And one thing I just want to get back to that you said earlier was with the kindness. Because one thing that I've also found, kindness is so incredible. And I know if there's a negative or toxic person and you have a history of that, there's a part of you that's resisting being kind to this person. It's literally resist, because also, like, you're feeling like you're getting vulnerable and you don't want to be vulnerable about this person. But there's this thing when you just bring kindness to them. And I literally tested that myself, where like a person was usually very negative, blaming others, talking bad about others, gossiping and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm actually worried about you. Why would you be worried? Like, I just noticed, you regularly like have this negativity, blaming others and stuff. And I was just the other day, I was just wondering how much pain or what you must have been going through to see the world like this every day. And then it just shut up. And you could literally just watch the whole, first with the face and the whole body transform. And you could see eyes watering a little bit. And they're just like, you're right. Yes. I don't even know what to say about it. Because they never had someone to talk about this stuff. And it was their own protective mechanism to deal with the pain they experienced before. And so literally with this one, not one phrase, but like, this little one interaction, he cracked open. and we could lead the conversation a completely different way. And over a matter of a couple of conversations and a couple of weeks, completely changed. The blaming stopped. The perspective became more positive as it was for you, Huang. And so sometimes we shouldn't forget that there's a person underneath that, and who knows what they have been gone through or still go through that made them act this way. And so oftentimes, as silly as it sounds, it's like a defense or coping mechanism for their own pain. Is it fair to you or somebody else? Absolutely not. But you have the saying, hurt people, heal people. And it's the same for me. Like, the more I went on my healing journey, the more I learned all these things, the more I naturally wanted to help. And I get to connect with people like the person I just described because I was there. I was a blamer. I was negative. I was a victim. And I know the pain that I felt back then. And I think in this moment, as I talked to this person, he knew that I felt this pain, that I know this pain. And so there's this energy that we connected through. And it was less about words. It was really more about the deeper truth. I don't know. I think, Huang, you probably can put it better into words than I do.
I'm not so sure about me could put into words better than you, but wow, man, I'm not sure about you guys, right? Not listening or seeing this, but I really felt touched when I hear you sharing that story, and I agree. It's so true. Beneath everything that is outside, right? The behaviors, the habits, and the negativity, there's a person in there. There is a person that's like is in pain, just like both of us, right? And because that's life, that's life. That's how life works. Throughout the journey, we gonna somewhere, some way, we are stuck, and it takes strength. It takes a little bit of grace, and it really takes openness to get through. And yeah, as long as we remember who we are, remember the essence, that how beautiful we really are, the person that we were born to be, what we're meant to do on this earth with the gift that we were giving, that we can share, we can add value, right? And and that it is the journey, and that's me and you, we are in the same journey, the journey on this earth. We are born once, and we will die someday. And we had the luck, we had the blessing, we had the opportunity to meet each other and to accompany each other in ways that could really change, and really change the world. And if not the world in a bigger scale, then it's the world inside of us, and the world in each other's, the world in our loved ones, just with one, with one. It was the quote, from someone that I might butchering and don't remember the name, but from someone else. How do you change the world? Well, one act of kindness at a time. And what could that act of kindness be? Is it to listen to others, or looking for the human, like beneath all of those pain, and the hunger and the sadness, are not, right? And we have our way. So yeah, that was what I was. You inspired me to say that. So thank you, brother. It was very
Thank you
touching.
so much. Like, it really feels like you just spoke straight from the heart.
Mhm.
And I could really feel that. And I think this is a perfect way to end our session today. And so
Mhm.
I think what I want to take out of this today is kindness. That even if there's a negative person, a toxic person that feels like they try to hurt us, just bringing some kindness. Maybe also that just means to myself, to not taking on what has been said. But bringing kindness to the situation and see what's coming out of it. Trusting my truth, my essence to deal with the situation the best possible. What is yours one?
Wow, there's a lot of takeaway. Uh, for me, you drove so many beautiful things, right? Your stories about you helping that person, opening up. For me, I believe that would be the thing. Asking question, calling out, asking question, and in the most compassionate way that we could, and that we feel in that moment, right? And if it's need to be more direct, then we do it more direct. But I do believe in, the most valuable things that we really could give anyone on this earth is our time and our presence and our attention. And so, yeah, take the time to love one another as, as it will expanding the love within us and ourselves.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, brother. So that's it for us today. I'm expanding my love to you guys, and I'm wishing you the most amazing rest of the week. Looking forward to hear your insights, your questions, your stories about this, and seeing you guys next week again. Until then, have a wonderful time, and remember who you are.
And remember the power of creation you possessed. All right. Take care, guys, and see you
Take
next
care.
time. Bye.
Bye bye.